We are going to bend a piece of music wire to make a spring for a waste cover door on ASL-100.
Why do you use piano wire?
Piano wire has the right mechanical, metallurgical properties, I would say, and it's already been heat treated to be spring material. Enter the holding device, tighten appropriately. Stop the lathe. There we go. Just turn. We have the right number of turns. We'll trim up the ends appropriately, and this spring is ready to go. There you go. That's it. Okay, one more. Is this a movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to shoot that right there. We're done.
So this has the
Yep.
L.
Look right down in there if you can. There's no lighting for you though.
Yeah. Awesome.
Where you go through the side of a motor with a wire, the area is protected with a rubber grommet, which is a soft piece of rubber that's meant to protect the rubber from rubbing on the steel and chafing through. We found that a number of these were missing. We talked to AC Electric and they found that the original grommets, which looked like, and we'll stop there. Here's one of the original grommets. It's a soft rubber. You can see it's still got a lot of give to it, but because it's sort of squished out of shape, it no longer will go through. So AC Electric exhausted all of their sources, and we went through our parts here and talked with our parts manager, and we weren't able to find any. So Phil Morris said, well, why not use heater hose? So I went down yesterday to the local Napa place and got this heater hose. This is 1 inch outside diameter, which exactly fits the holes. The inside's a little large, but that's not important in this case. So I cut this little short piece, chamfered the ends a little bit so that it will go in. Now, slide it over the wire. Wait a minute, we've got too many things on here. This is an identification tag from AC Electric. We know what motor it is now. Okay, slide it in with the chamfer going down the wire. There's just enough room so it goes over the tags. And then we, by twisting it, and then tapping on it with a hammer, it goes in quite well, tightly enough so I don't think it's going to come out of there again. We had thought we might have to put some cement or something on there, but I don't think so. I think that's, as you can see, it's going in pretty hard and provides a good cushion both on the inside and the outside. I want to have it sticking out just a little bit on each side so that there's no chance of the wire rubbing on the metal. Now, if we hadn't been able to do this, this wiring is much more durable than the original wire, and it probably would have been all right, but we wanted to do this partly because it was prototypical and partly because of safety in terms of making sure that we don't have any short circuits there. Yeah, I think that's about as far as that's going to go. Well, there we are. Why don't we give a little wrap-up here in the sense of where we stand now and where we're going to go between now and when the motors and trucks actually go under the car. These motors were delivered here about a little just about a week ago. And we brought them inside because there were a number of small things that need doing. Some of them have been done, and there are a few things yet to do. One of the things has to happen is that the pinions have got to be heated and put on tight, the locking washers put on, and the lock nut put on. In the bearings, the armature bearings, in this big thing called a grease box, which we just made the covers, padding for the covers the other day, that has to be filled with wool waste, which is a material that looks like yarn that's saturated with oil, and that serves to conduct the oil down to the bearing. We're trimming the wires. We're going to put some labels on them, make sure they're close to the right length, and have a place to connect, to put the connectors on. We won't cut them completely to the correct length until we get under the car, because it's much easier to do it when you're right in there, and we don't want to cut them too short, because that's not very good. We are also going to clean and wash the bronze bearings that go inside of here. We've got all of the bearing cap, which is the other half that holds that on. Those are all done and ready to go in. So there aren't too many things that have to be done. We'll just pick these up and carry them over next door and put them into the trucks, and then we'll pull the truck out back and probably lift it up and over from one track to the other, because getting way out is very difficult. And then we'll roll them, jack up the body of the car, the deck, as high as we can. It's probably going to have to be about this high, because what's under it now that wasn't under it when we last took the trucks out was that the air tanks are under there, so it makes it closer to the ground. So they've got to clear something like 26 inches on underneath the air tank, so that they put the body way up high, roll the trucks underneath, and then let it down, and then we'll be able to hook everything up underneath. I think that's it. And that will take place, no, that isn't going to work, is it, for the middle of December. The motor is supported on the outer end on the axle. But a fellow by the name of Frank J. Sprague, who was back in the 1880s developing trolley motors, came up with what they call a wheelbarrow design. The original design, the motor was suspended entirely and sort of bounced up and down with the axle, and the gear moved, and it just wasn't a good design. So here, this distance is fixed with a bearing inside of here, the axle inside of here, and it holds it. So the other end of the motor is held with, and you might think of this as like the handles on a wheelbarrow, and this is a motor suspension bar. These are the original. Let me see. I think, did we make new ones? I can't remember.
I think we made new
Yes,
ones.
we had to make
Yeah.
new ones. When we tried to take this apart way back 2 years ago, we found this whole space between the motor frame and the original bar was all filled with rust, and they were bent and halfway eaten away here. Apparently water, because this was essentially outdoors, the end of the motor cab did not cover the outer motor, so water got in here and rusted away the steel and the cast iron of the motor case, and it just deteriorated. So we made new ones, and there they are, all installed, ready to go.
Okay.
This is called a Sherman set screw connector. The last ones we bought were about 40 years ago, and from what I can see, they're not available anymore on the commercial market. However, we are able to make them. And these are used for making internal connections, such as right here, there's a wire that goes down from the top half of the motor into the bottom half, and it's connected together with that. Or where they go up inside of the car, they're also connected there. It's a brass tube with, the original screws are iron screws, and they tend to rust, so we're going to replace them with stainless steel because we found that some of them were very, very difficult to take apart. Now, the wire that we're using is fine stranded, that's what they use when you run to a motor, because you need flexibility when the motor moves. And it's very difficult for these screws to compress down on the wire when they're tightened up. So what we do is we solidify this short section of wire by applying solder to it.
Right.
This is called the motor pinion. It's attached to the motor shaft, and if I was strong enough, I could turn it around. There's another gear, the larger gear here. This has 17 teeth. I think the other one has 71 teeth. So this one turns fast, the other one turns slow, but it develops a lot of power. These are held on to the shaft with like taper fit. And what we do is the inside of the pinion fits that exactly. This one has had looks like it's gotten kind of beat up. We think this may be the one that was loose when the motor came to us. There's a key on the other side that fits into the keyway right here. But that, we don't depend on that keyway to hold everything. Alright, why doesn't that fit? There we go. We shrink this on. What we'll do is we'll put this pinion in water for about an hour, and that will heat up and expand. Then we'll put it on, hit it with a lead hammer so that it goes on pretty tight, and then it will shrink on and it will stay very well. However, just to be sure, we put this lock washer on here, which goes over this pinion nut, this big nut. And this nut is just a safety. It really shouldn't do anything, though we did find one of them was loose when we started work on this. And then to keep this nut from turning after we tighten it way up, we'll bend these edges over on the pinion nut, or on the pinion washer, and it should stay put. So that will be done in a while. We are going to get some other things done, and then we'll do all four of them at once.